Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings for Friday, March the 10th. We have a shorter Friday slate, only 6 games tonight, but we're still going to go game by game, guys. We're going to break down this 6-game slate, give you guys my quick thoughts on the slate, what I do like, taking a first look on Thursday night. As always, though, before we get started with the breakdown, if you guys do enjoy these DFS videos, if they help you out, make sure you hit that like button down below, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And if you guys are new to the channel, if you've never checked out PrizePicks before, PrizePicks is the sponsor of this video. You guys can actually sign up for PrizePicks. Use my promo code NOAH. You look at the bottom of the screen. When you sign up with promo code NOAH, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. And for those of you that have never heard about PrizePicks, you don't know what they are. They're a player prop site, so very simple, easy to use. Just take more or less on a player's projection. It's as simple as that. You can already see some projections posted for Friday's games. Since I'm making this video on Thursday night, there's really not much on the board right now. But if you take a look at the board again sometime on Friday morning, Friday afternoon, you'll see a ton of different props from every category, from every team. And again, if there's anything that stands out to you, if you think the projection is too high or too low, you just take more or less. It's as simple as that. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 6 picks. You can win up to 25x your money on PrizePicks. You can also mix and match sports on PrizePicks. PrizePicks does offer a ton of other sports outside of just NBA. They have college basketball, soccer. They have props up for spring training for the MLB. They have CSGO, PGA. They have everything. So give them a try, guys. Use that promo code NOAH. When you sign up, get your first deposit matched up to $100. But yeah, we got a Friday slate to talk about 6 games. I know I didn't make a video yesterday, guys. Just kind of had to take a day off, man. Been in a little bit of a slump lately with my PrizePicks bets, with my DFS play. Just kind of needed a day off from the content. But I'm excited to get back to it for Friday's slate. And let's start off with the first game of the night. So we'll start off with Atlanta and Washington. We did just see these two teams play a couple days ago, playing again today. We'll start off on the Wizards side. So for Washington today, they're pretty much fully healthy. They have Monte Morris back, who actually played last game. They did bring Monte Morris off the bench last game, so this will be something to keep an eye on. Obviously, Monte Morris has been the starting point guard kind of all season, but DeLon Wright has been starting lately without Monte Morris, and even with Monte Morris back last game, they still opted to start DeLon Wright. So kind of keep an eye on that. Obviously, DeLon Wright, if he's starting again, I think we can expect him to play pretty decent minutes. He played 32 minutes last game. Obviously, he'd be playable at 5,400. But when you're looking at the main 3 Wizards today, Porzingis, Beal, and Kuzma, where these guys are priced at, I think they're all viable plays, but I wouldn't consider any of them like standout options or core plays for me. I don't think any of them stand out head and shoulders above the rest. Porzingis, in this matchup, did have a really, really big game, played 38 minutes, had 59 DraftKings points. Porzingis has been pretty good lately, has shown a big ceiling, over 50 DK points in 3 out of his last 4 games. I think this matchup's fine for him, and it's obviously a matchup he can have success in. He just crushed against Atlanta last time they played. But again, at 9,100, I think Porzingis is kind of priced where he should be. Bradley Beal at 8,400 has had a really big role lately, been playing big minutes. Usage has been great. We saw Bradley Beal kind of, earlier in the season, kind of before the All-Star break, he was really just not playing that well. He wasn't playing big minutes. He wasn't producing that well. That's all behind him now. He's been playing massive minutes lately. The per-minute production's been great. I think he's probably my favorite between him and Kuzma and Porzingis. I think Beal might be my favorite, given his price tag, given he's a little bit cheaper than Porzingis. Kuzma probably my least favorite. He was great in this game, though. Did put up 51 DK points, played 35 minutes. I mean, really all the big 3 from Washington did well last game. Washington did score 120 points, so they kind of put up a lot of points. But we know the offense is going to run through these 3 guys that we just talked about. They're all viable plays. If I had to rank them, I would say Beal's my favorite, then Porzingis, then Kuzma. And the rest of the Wizards, the only other guy that I consider here is DeLon Wright, and that's if he is starting. If he's not starting, I don't have any interest in him. But if he is starting still, I think we can expect him to play around 30 minutes, close to that, and he would be viable at 5,400. But that'll do it for that game, or for that side of the game. Let's talk about the other side with Atlanta. So we did see Trae Young in this matchup do really, really well. He was a little bit cheaper last slate. He was 8,800, but he played 33 minutes, had 54 DraftKings points. I think this matchup against Washington is pretty good for Trae. He's going to see DeLon Wright if DeLon Wright starts. DeLon Wright's a good defender, but I still think this is a matchup that Trae can exploit. So I'm definitely interested in Trae here at 9,300. Doesn't look as good today as he did last slate because he was a lot cheaper, but I still think he's in play. DeJounte Murray's coming in at 7,700. I think he's a fine option as well. Both these guys are going to play big minutes. Both of these guys have a big ceiling. Obviously, would not play them together, but I think if you want to go to one of the two, it's fine. My preference would be with Trey. And then Clint Capella was pretty underwhelming last time these teams played, but he did get into some foul trouble. He had 4 fouls. He picked up his 4th foul like halfway through the 3rd quarter. So he lost some minutes because of that. He probably would have played about 30 minutes had he not gotten into foul trouble last game. Capella, now that his price tag is where it's at 6,500, wouldn't consider him a standout option. I thought when he was like 5,600, 5,700, like he was a few days ago, he was a really good play then. Now that he's 6,500, kind of priced correctly. Not a guy that I'm super interested in, more of a GPP play at that salary. And the rest of Atlanta, I don't love anyone else here. Do want to mention that John Collins is really cheap, and he finally had a decent game last game, somewhat decent game. Played 29 minutes, had 25 DraftKings points. It was good to see him play 29 minutes. That's the most that he has played since, February the 11th? I mean, it's been almost a month since, obviously he's been out for a while, but it's been almost a month since we've seen John Collins play like 30 minutes, and he got 29 minutes last game. If we're going to get 30 minutes from John Collins at 4,200, I think he's in pretty decent value play. His per minute production's not been great lately, but he is still cheap, obviously, and the minutes were there last game. We'll have to wait and see like what kind of value opens up as the day goes on, but if there's really no value on the slate, I'm fine going to Collins as a value play at 4,200. But yeah, that's it for that game. Let's move on to the next one, Portland and Philadelphia. So for Philadelphia today, pretty good spot here against the Blazers. I think there's definitely some guys we can look to target from Philly. Joel Embiid in this matchup against Portland, I think is pretty solid. Now, Portland does have Yusuf Nurkic back, so I don't think the matchup is like as good. But even with Nurkic healthy this season, Portland has still been a pretty decent matchup for centers. We're going to talk about Jokic later. I think Jokic is in a better spot against San Antonio. But I think Embiid's in a pretty good spot here as well. If this game is close, we know Embiid's going to play massive minutes. He offers massive upside. He's for sure in play on this slate. James Harden at 10,300 I think's fine as well. We've seen Harden just stuff in the stat sheet lately. He had 20 assists last game that he played against Indiana. Almost had a triple-double. He's back-to-back games, he's been 1 rebound shy of a triple-double. The guy's going to stuff the stat sheet when he's out there. Obviously wouldn't play him with Embiid, but if you want to go to one of the two Philly guys, I think both are viable here now. Tyrese Maxey's been priced up a lot at 7,500. Not super interested in him, especially now that Tobias Harris is back. Tobias Harris himself at 5,900 I think is priced correctly as well. All these guys had really good games last game with Harden out. Like Embiid did really well. Maxey did really well. Now that Harden is back, Maxey, Tobias Harris, those guys don't look nearly as appealing. The rest of Philadelphia, I'm not interested in. And then on the other side with Portland, so for the Blazers today, Anthony Simons is questionable, so this will be some news to keep an eye on. If Anthony Simons does return, obviously that's going to take a hit to guys like Damian Lillard, Yusuf Nurkic, Jeremy Grant. Cam Reddish would probably go back to the bench. He would pretty much be out of play. Even if Simons remains out, I really don't like much from Portland here. It's not the best spot against Philadelphia. This game definitely has some blowout risk. Portland has not really been playing that well lately. Philadelphia's been playing very well, and they're at home here. It's a tough matchup for Damian Lillard. He has shown that he can crush even in tough matchups, but I'm not really going out of my way to play Lillard on this slate. Would rather go to Embiid, would rather go to Jokic, who we're going to talk about later. Think I'd rather play Anthony Davis too, who we haven't talked about yet. So not super interested in Dame. Grant, Simons, Nurkic, none of these guys look super appealing. Even if Simons remains out, not super interested in Grant or Nurkic. Nurkic made his return last game but played very limited minutes, so until we see him play more than 20-plus minutes, it's going to be really hard to go to Nurkic. It's a tough matchup as well against Embiid, plus there's foul trouble risk. A lot of negatives going against Nurkic here. Only positive, I guess you could say, is that he is somewhat cheap. He's 6,100. We know that Nurkic can produce when he gets minutes, but again, given he only played 17 minutes last game, was very limited, not super interested in him. And again, Cam Reddish, Matisse Thybulle, the only way that I'm even considering these guys is if Simons remains out. If Simons returns, I have zero interest in Reddish. I have zero interest in Thybulle. And I think that's it for that game. So let's move on to the next one, Cleveland and Miami. Another game that doesn't look super appealing. Two teams that play good defense, two teams that play at a very slow pace. It's going to be hard to get excited about really anyone here. On the Miami side, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, these guys all are great players. They all have plenty of upside. But in this matchup against Cleveland, I think they're all priced correctly. Butler's 8,600, and he's probably my favorite of the three. He's just been the most consistent lately. He's been playing big minutes, and he's just been stuffing the stat sheet. We saw him put up 46 DraftKings points against Cleveland last time they played a few days ago. Jimmy has shown that he can crush even in a tough matchup. Wouldn't consider him a priority on the slate, but he's playable. Bam Adebayo really struggled in this matchup. His price tag's come down a little bit, but I'm not super interested in Bam, not super interested in Hero. The rest of Miami, I don't see much else I like here. Kevin Love, been starting lately, but barely been playing. Not a guy that I have a ton of interest in. Caleb Martin had a big game off the bench a couple games ago, but then last game kind of came back down to earth, had just 11 Draftkings points. Even though he's been coming off the bench, he has been playing like pretty good minutes. So I guess that's the one case that you can make for him is that he is going to play probably 30 minutes here. Even though he comes off the bench, he's most likely going to close over Kevin Love. So, yeah, I guess Caleb Martin's okay for value, but there's really nothing to get excited about for Miami today. And it's pretty much the same on the Cleveland. I mean, nothing looks that great on Cleveland here. Mitchell, Garland, 9K for Mitchell, 8,100 for Garland. Tough matchup for both these guys. Don't have a ton of interest in either one. Mitchell really struggled in this matchup a few games ago, had just 32 DK points in 34 minutes. Didn't shoot the ball that well, and we know Donovan Mitchell is a player that can put up a huge game any night, but on this slate, he's nothing more than a contrarian GPP play. Same could be said for Garland, same could be said for Mobley and Allen. Cleveland, probably a full fade for me. I think that they were full fade for me last slate. I didn't really wasn't even considering anyone on Cleveland, and I think that's probably going to be the same today. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Brooklyn and Minnesota. So for Minnesota today, we kind of know who's going to be in and out here. No Karl-Anthony Towns, but they should have everyone else available. Anthony Edwards is coming in at 9,500. Don't love this matchup for Anthony Edwards. Mikal Bridges played on Tuesday, but he only played like 12 minutes, or not Tuesday, Thursday. But he only played like 12 minutes, so even though it's a back-to-back, I expect Bridges to play. And Bridges is a good defender. Dorian Finney-Smith is a good defender. I don't think this is the greatest matchup for Anthony Edwards, but he's going to play big minutes. He's going to have a big role. He's going to take a ton of shots. The price tag feels about right, though, on this slate. I think there's other guys I'd rather pay up for today. I think it's a pretty good spot for Rudy Gobert. We've seen Brooklyn give up some big games to centers lately. Gobert's going to play probably 30-plus minutes as long as he avoids foul trouble, as long as the game stays close. The price tag's come down a little bit. He's probably my favorite play on Minnesota. If I had to play anyone on the Timberwolves, I think Gobert would be the first guy that I would click. And then Kyle Anderson, Mike Conley, the rest of these guys, none of them look super appealing. They're not that interesting to me. Now on the Brooklyn side, it's tough to tell for Brooklyn. So Spencer Dinwiddie, Nick Claxton, Cameron Johnson, and Royce O'Neal all rested on Thursday. So I'm guessing they'll all be back for today. I'm guessing the guys that played Thursday, like Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, I'm guessing they'll play today as well. I don't think they're going to rest. So expect Brooklyn to have everyone available. Mikal Bridges coming in at 8,200. This matchup against Minnesota, I don't love. I think he's going to be guarded by Jaden McDaniels, who's been one of the better defenders in the league this season. But Mikal has had such a big role since being acquired by Brooklyn. He's been playing massive minutes, taking a ton of shots. Usage has been great. He's fine at 8,200, but not a priority on this slate. Dinwiddie at 7,300, I think I'd rather go to. I think he'll probably draw the softer matchup between the two. And we've seen Dinwiddie have a big role as well, playing big minutes. Didn't get full minutes last game because of the blowout, but this game against Minnesota should be competitive, so we should see 36, 38 minutes from Dinwiddie. He rested Thursday, so he should be fresh, ready for this game. I think he might be my favorite play on Brooklyn, Dinwiddie that is. Claxton in this matchup against Gobert, don't love, probably going to pass on him. Cam Johnson has had a much bigger role lately, but obviously the price tag is kind of adjusted for that. He's 6K now. At 6K, I'm not super interested in Cam Johnson. And the rest of Brooklyn, I don't have a ton of interest in. The only way that I'm considering anyone else on this team is if some guys rest here. But again, given all the guys that rested Thursday, I assume are going to be back today. So let's go ahead and move on to the next game, Denver and San Antonio. So for San Antonio today, we'll start off on their side. Not the best spot here against a really good Denver team. But luckily, San Antonio is playing at home. So hopefully that means we'll get a competitive game here. Keldon Johnson is 6,800. He's priced correctly now that Devin Vassell's back and healthy again. Trey Jones is healthy again. I was playing Keldon a good amount whenever those guys were out, when he was priced around this range. Now that those guys are back, I don't have a ton of interest in Keldon Johnson here. Zach Collins draws a really tough matchup against Jokic. There's obviously foul trouble risk as well. Zach Collins has been a great permanent producer since taking over as a starter, but given the matchup, given the price tag, not super interested in Zach Collins. Devin Vassell, since he's come back from injury, they've kind of been taking it easy on him, but he did get up to 29 minutes last game. He did also start that game, so I think we're going to get 30-plus minutes from Devin Vassell today as long as the game stays close, which is kind of a big if. But if San Antonio does keep this game close, I think Vassell at 5,600 is appealing. Obviously he hasn't been producing at the same rate that he was before he got injured. Before he got injured, he was playing really well. We saw him be priced like in the 7K range. Obviously, he hasn't been producing that well since coming back from injury, but give him a few games to get his feet under him, and I'm sure Vassell's going to start to put up some big games. Given the minutes were up last game and the price tag is still somewhat reasonable, I do have some mention Devin Vassell today. Jeremy Sohan, with Vassell and Trey Jones back, I don't love. He's been great lately, but I think he's priced correctly. Trey Jones at 5,300 is someone I think is viable. Since he's come back from injury, he's played 2 games, 21 minutes, 25 minutes. Pretty sure he came off the bench in both those games, if I remember correctly. Okay, so he did start that last game against the Rockets, so that's at least good to see. It looks like Trey Jones is going to be in the starting lineup moving forward. The production has not been good since coming back from injury, but again, the price tag at 5,300 is definitely low for a guy like Trey Jones, who we saw be priced a lot in the 6K range when he was healthy. So, I think Vassell and Trey Jones, even though they're coming back from injury, they've played a few games already. Their minutes are starting to ramp up. Hopefully, the production gets back to normal, and if it does, I think both those guys are a little bit underpriced. Those would probably be the 2 guys I would look to from San Antonio. Now, on the Denver side, it's a great matchup for Denver here. Obviously, San Antonio has been one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They're a great matchup overall, kind of for everybody. Jokic is in a smash spot here. The only concern I have is, can San Antonio keep this game close? If San Antonio keeps this game close and Jokic plays 36 minutes against the Spurs, he could put up a massive game here. So I would say that Jokic is a very strong pay-up option today. I think this game being played in San Antonio is definitely a plus. If this game was being played in Denver, I would be very worried about blowout. I'm not as worried about blowout given it's played in San Antonio. Also, San Antonio is getting some of their guys back, like Vassell and Trey Jones. It's more likely they'll be able to keep this game competitive with some of their starters back, some of their main guys. So I'm very interested in Jokic here. I think it's a great spot for him. It's a great spot for Jamal Murray as well. He's not a guy that I really ever get excited to roster when he's priced where he is. But man, the Spurs have been one of the best matchups for point guards. I think Murray can have a big game here. I wouldn't play Murray and Jokic together, but I definitely think playing one of the two makes a lot of sense. And then Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr., you could include those guys in your player pool just because the matchup is so good. Wouldn't consider either one of them priority plays, but I think they're both viable, again, because the matchup's so good. Not really considering anyone else on Denver, though. I don't think so. Let's go ahead and move on to the last game of the night, the Raptors and the Lakers. And we'll start off on the Lakers side. So for the Lakers today, I think Anthony Davis is probable, and then I think D'Angelo Russell is expected to be back for this game. So D'Angelo Russell's probable, and I'm pretty sure it was already reported that he was going to be in the starting lineup. Now, is he going to be on a minutes restriction? That's a big question. We don't really know. He hasn't played in like 2 weeks, so I would say it's pretty likely that Russell's going to be on a minutes restriction here. I don't think he's going to be viable for DFS. But Anthony Davis, we know, is going to have a massive role. Obviously, without LeBron, the offense is kind of running through Davis right now. The price tag is up to 11K, which I think is about right here. The matchup against Toronto, I think, is okay. Davis, he might just be like a matchup-proof player at this point. With how well he's playing right now, he's just crushing in every matchup, and the offense is running through him. So I'm still interested in AD as a pay-up option. I probably would put Jokic ahead of him, though, but I still think AD is in play. The rest of the Lakers, though, like with Russell back, that kind of takes Schroeder out of play. Vanderbilt's not super appealing. Malik Beasley, not super appealing. Malik Beasley's a guy that can get hot from 3, but he's kind of been inconsistent since joining the Lakers. He hasn't really had a great role. He's not been playing a ton of minutes either. We've seen Austin Reeves play a lot off the bench. Reeves is 4,700. Maybe you could go to him for value. Outside of Anthony Davis, there's no one that I'm super confident in from the Lakers, but you could definitely take some shots on Reeves, maybe on Beasley. No one else, though, I really want to go to. The minutes are just kind of being spread around right now. I know Troy Brown's been getting a lot of minutes lately. Maybe you could go to him. He's only 4,400. I think he's an okay value. But the guy that I definitely like from the Lakers is AD. And again, D'Angelo Russell, if he's not limited, I think would be a pretty appealing play. But I have a feeling since he's been out for 3+ weeks, he's probably going to be on a minutes limit, I'd assume. Now let's talk about the other side of this game with the Raptors. And the Raptors look appealing today. It's a really good matchup against the Lakers. The Lakers play fast. Their defense has kind of been up and down this season. I like kind of all these guys as like GPP plays. Siakam's 8,700, Van Vliet's 8,300, Jakob Poeltl's 6,900, Scotty Barnes 6,700, OG 6K. I want to get some exposure to these guys. Now, obviously, if you're playing like one lineup, you're not going to play like 4 Raptors in one lineup. But if you're playing a lot of lineups, I think it makes some sense to sprinkle in all these Raptor starters. We know if this is a competitive game, you're getting 36, 40 minutes from Siakam, from Van Vliet, from OG, most likely from Scotty Barnes. Jakob Poeltl's minutes have been a little bit more consistent lately. He's now played over 30 minutes in 3 out of the last 4 games. Matchup against Anthony Davis, I don't love. There's definitely foul trouble risk here for Poeltl. But if Poeltl can avoid foul trouble, we know he's a really good permanent producer. If the minutes are there, the production's usually going to be there. So I think he's kind of a guy we can sprinkle into GPPs. I think my favorite play from Toronto is probably Van Vliet. The Lakers have been a really good matchup for point guards this season. Van Vliet had a lot of success against the Lakers, at least earlier this season. In only 29 minutes, he put up 40 DraftKings points. We know if this game is competitive, Van Vliet's playing like 40 minutes. So 8,300 for Van Vliet in the spot. Yeah, I definitely think he looks appealing. Don't mind Siakam either, but we've seen Siakam's permanent production take a hit with Poeltl in the lineup. And really, ever since they acquired Poeltl, Siakam has not had like any good games. He's maybe had like one good game with Poeltl. I think Poeltl, rebounding more, that's just taken away from Siakam. Poeltl's a guy that can kind of, give some touches too. So like Siakam's role is definitely diminished a little bit, but we know he's a great player, can put up a big game any night, and I think the matchup against the Lakers is really good. So I wouldn't mind going to Siakam in GPPs. I feel better about Van Vliet, but I think Siakam's still viable. We talked about Poeltl. I think Scotty Barnes and OG are both playable as well. Scotty Barnes kind of been up and down, but he's going to play big minutes if this game's close. I think the matchup is fine for him as well. Lakers on the glass are a team you can count. They give up like a lot of offensive rebounds, so I think this is a spot where we could definitely see Barnes get a lot of putbacks. He did have a good game against the Lakers earlier this season for what it's worth. 13 points, 17 rebounds. So I think it's a pretty good spot for Scotty Barnes. And then OG, another guy that's been kind of up and down this season, but the minutes are always there. 37 minutes, 35, 39, 38. That's really what you want to bank on is the minutes. And he's, 6K. 6K for a guy that's going to play close to 40 minutes still makes him viable. Even though his production this season has not been great, I think OG is still playable just because of how many minutes he's playing. But I'm not really on any other Raptors, I don't think. Nothing else looks that great here, so that's it for that game, guys. That's it for this 6-game slate for Friday night. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, as always, appreciate you watching. Make sure you hit that like button down below. If you guys enjoyed, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. And go check out PrizePicks as well, sponsor of the video. Again, you guys can sign up for PrizePicks. You can use my promo code NOAH. When you do sign up for PrizePicks with my promo code, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Definitely check them out if you guys have not yet. And make sure to use that promo code when you sign up so that way you get your deposit bonus. But good luck tonight, guys. Hope you guys all enjoy your Friday night, enjoy your weekend, and we will see you guys in the next video.